this Wednesday night, Tumbler Ridge families take OpenAI to court. Lawsuits launched after one of Canada's worst mass shootings.
It's hard to imagine that we won't ask for at least $1 billion.
The accusations against the maker of ChatGPT. Airline anger.
A lot of Canadians have issues.
How the government plans to fix the massive backlog of air passenger complaints. Canada approves the first generic version of Ozempic. How it could reduce the cost for Canadians looking to lose weight. Plus, no mic, no problem.
Our home and native love.
The American hockey crowd who stepped up to sing Canada's national anthem.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with major lawsuits over the deadly school shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC. 8 people were killed in that attack in February, most of them children. 7 lawsuits have now been filed on behalf of 5 people who died and 2 others who were injured. Lawyers in Canada and the U.S. are teaming up to represent those victims and their families. They're suing OpenAI and its founder, Sam Altman, alleging they failed to warn police about the shooter's troubling online behavior, which had resulted in their ChatGPT account being banned from the platform. As Catherine Urquhart reports in our top story tonight, the families are seeking at least $1 billion in damages.
These families from the Canadian North have come together and they've decided to pursue litigation in the United States on a scale that can hold these companies to account.
The suits make several claims of negligence, product liability, and violation of California's Business and Professional Code. Among the allegations, OpenAI's automated system flagged the shooter's ChatGPT account for gun violence activity and planning. A specialized safety team determined that the shooter posed a credible and specific threat of gun violence against real people. The safety team urged OpenAI to notify the RCMP. The lawsuits also claim company leaders overruled the safety team members, deactivated the shooter's account, and kept what they had seen to themselves. When the story eventually broke, Altman and OpenAI lied, claimed to have banned the shooter's account. But OpenAI only deactivates them, a process that can be reversed within minutes by registering a new account. The shooter did exactly that and continued using ChatGPT to plan the attack.
We'll be asking the jury to send us a strong message to OpenAI that it can't make a decision to put profits over the lives of little kids. And it's hard to imagine that we won't ask for at least $1 billion.
OpenAI claims it has already strengthened safeguards, including how it assesses and escalates potential threats of violence. All 7 lawsuits request jury trials, which the legal team expects will move forward next year. Catherine Urquhart, Global News, Vancouver.
Canada's Minister for Artificial Intelligence was asked about those lawsuits. Evan Solomon says that the safety of children is the government's top priority.
Our thoughts are with the families at Tumbler Ridge and, how they find justice. Obviously, the company's located there. That's their decision on the legal side. But obviously, we are pursuing from our end to make sure that citizens are protected.
Solomon says that Canada is now catching up to many other countries when it comes to regulating and preventing harmful online activity. Turning to other news now, the Bank of Canada once again held its benchmark interest rate steady at 2.25%. Governor Tiff Macklem warned that the outlook is highly uncertain, with inflation poised to rise sharply in the months ahead. Our Mackenzie Gray now on what Canadian consumers and homeowners should expect.
The Bank of Canada's old foe is back.
Until the war, we expected inflation to stay close to the 2% target. But sharply higher gasoline prices are now pushing up inflation.
In April, inflation will hit 3% according to the central bank, up from 1.8% just 2 months ago.
We may well need consecutive increases in the policy rate to get inflation back to the 2% target.
From the normally tight-lipped Tiff Macklem, that's a clear warning sign and a flashback to the inflation spike during COVID, a scenario the bank is eager to not repeat.
Canadians don't like inflation either. So we would raise interest rates with the sole purpose of making sure we keep inflation at targets.
Those rate hikes aren't a done deal. If the war ends, inflation should ease, but that's not the bank's only concern.
If the United States imposes significant new trade restrictions on Canada, we may need to cut the policy rate further to support economic growth.
With the Canada-US-Mexico free trade renegotiations upcoming and the Trump administration opening 2 investigations into Canadian trade practices, more tariffs and uncertainty are looming.
If we start to see massive job losses, high unemployment, and it starts to spread over to other sectors of the economy, that would be a reason for the Bank of Canada to deliver a little bit more accommodation.
Markets now betting on a half-point hike by October, presenting a new political problem for the Liberals.
The uncertainty index is I think it's its highest level since probably the Second World War.
Another worry, both situations could happen at the same time, with high oil prices pushing up inflation. While new tariffs and a breakdown in trade talks ravage the Canadian economy, Jeff, a worst-case scenario largely controlled by a mercurial Donald Trump.
Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa. Thanks, Mac. The U.S. Federal Reserve is also keeping its benchmark interest rate unchanged, citing uncertainty and rising costs. The Fed chair warns inflation is being fueled by higher energy prices, stemming from the war on Iran and the blockades in the Strait of Hormuz. Well, today, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was grilled by U.S. lawmakers over the mounting costs of the operation in the Middle East. Our Heather Yourex-West reports from Washington.
60 days into America and Israel's war with Iran, the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth faced congressional lawmakers for the first time, and Democrats were not happy.
This war of choice is a political and economic disaster at every level. Despite the president's promise to lower the cost of living, gas prices are up 40%. The president has got himself and America stuck in the quagmire of another war in the Middle East.
My generation served in a quagmire in Iraq and Afghanistan. Shame on you for that statement. And statements like that are reckless to our troops. Don't say I support the troops on one hand and then a 2-month mission is a quagmire.
The Pentagon comptroller told members of the House Armed Services Committee that Operation Epic Fury has cost taxpayers $25 billion so far.
Most of that is munitions. There's part of that is obviously O&M and equipment replacement.
But the war is costing individual Americans too, with pump prices hitting their highest point since the start of the conflict. In parts of California Wednesday, drivers paid $6.09 for a gallon of gasoline. That's about $2.19 Canadian a litre.
It's extremely stressful. I've spent probably like $200, probably in less than 10 days.
As long as we have this oil price shock, it's going to have a very adverse effect on the economy. And even if it were to end tomorrow, there's going to be a long tail from this that'll affect the economy for months, if not maybe even a year or more.
But the war ending tomorrow or even soon seems unlikely. The president posting on Truth Social overnight an AI image of himself holding a weapon under the banner, "No more Mr. Nice Guy," calling on Iran to get their act together and sign a non-nuclear deal.
The U.S. president also discussed the war with Iran with Russian President Vladimir Putin in a phone call Wednesday, later telling reporters he believes the wars in Ukraine and Iran could end along a similar timeline. Jeff?
Heather Yourex-West in Washington. Thanks, Heather. A major ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court could lead to the reshaping of voting maps in favor of Republican candidates. In a 6-3 ruling, the court's conservative majority struck down a provision of the Voting Rights Act, which for decades has been used to redraw state maps to help boost the voting power of ethnic minority groups. In the ruling, Chief Justice John Roberts said voting maps shouldn't be divvied up by race. The 3 dissenting justices say the consequences are likely to be far-reaching and grave, potentially diluting the voice of minority groups. Prime Minister Mark Carney and his cabinet are defending their spending priorities 1 day after releasing the spring economic statement. Among the details in that fiscal update are some potential changes to air travel. The government says it's considering privatizing some Canadian airports. And as Jillian Piper reports, it's also planning to tackle the booming backlog of air passenger complaints.
It's infuriating. Now I understand why people bypass it.
For Samantha Sommer, it's been a 2-year wait.
I followed all the rules. I did exactly what I was supposed to do, and it did not work.
Her Air Canada flight from Fort Lauderdale to Montreal was cancelled, leaving her stranded for 48 hours with no hotel or meal options. But she was told her complaint didn't have enough evidence.
I'm not really sure what the point of going through the right channels is, waiting in the queue for over 2 years and then being turned away.
The Liberals promising to help people like Samantha and the 97,000 other Canadians with air passenger complaints, pledging in the spring economic statement to hire a private company to clear the backlog and strengthen passenger protections, but gave no details on how either promise would work.
This is not going to solve any problems. It may solve perhaps some PR problem for the government, because the government will be able then to blame the third party instead of actually facing responsibility.
Another potential aviation change, Ottawa is considering selling major Canadian airports to investors.
We're in the early stages of a process with airport authorities and other partners to determine the best way forward.
Any sale could raise tens of billions, money that could potentially go towards the Liberals' new sovereign wealth fund. But the finance minister won't say if that is a driving factor.
We're going to look at how we can derive full value of federal assets.
Mark Carney already identifying potential buyers in March, meeting with Australian pension funds eager to own Canadian airports.
We would like to see more opportunities in Canada as we think about transport infrastructure, airports, railroad.
The Prime Minister is planning to host hundreds of the world's biggest investors in September, Jeff, who will likely be interested in buying a stake in Canadian airports.
Jillian Piper in Ottawa. Thanks, Jillian. New signs tonight that Canadians are losing patience with their telecom providers. Canada's telecom watchdog says it received more than 19,000 complaints so far this year about phone, internet, and TV services. That's a jump of 61% compared with last year. Concerns about wireless phone providers make up the majority, followed by internet service issues. Complaints over billing, such as unexpected activation or installation fees, have surged dramatically compared with last year. Health Canada has just approved the first generic version of Ozempic. The brand name drug is approved for treatment of type 2 diabetes, but it's often also prescribed off-label for weight loss. Our health reporter Catherine Ward now on how the move could increase access and lower costs. Catherine.
Health Canada's authorization means Canada is the first G7 country to cross the finish line to have a generic semaglutide approved.
This is maybe the first time anywhere in the world that people are excitedly looking at to transition from a brand name drug to a generic drug.
While the drug has been approved for adults living with type 2 diabetes, doctors say it also has the potential to be used off-label to help with weight loss, an option that could become more and more common with a generic version available.
We've been talking about how we have an obesity epidemic for a long time, and with good reason. I think that's going to change the landscape, even more than we can predict right now.
The exact cost is not yet clear. However, Health Canada says many generic medications are 45 to 90% cheaper than brand name versions. Doctors say it won't be available immediately, but with the government green light, things could move quickly.
So once it's been approved, then the manufacturer starts ramping up their production, their supply chain, starts shipping these in the next 3 to 6 months. We absolutely expect that the supply chain issues and the availability problems are going to go away. And so then it's going to become a mass market product.
Health Canada says they are currently reviewing 8 other submissions for generic semaglutides by different companies. Decisions on those drugs are expected in the coming weeks and months. Jeff?
Catherine Ward in Toronto. Thanks, Catherine. Footing the bill for FIFA coming up. How much it'll cost taxpayers to provide security at the World Cup. British counter-terrorism police are investigating the stabbing of 2 men in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood of London. The British Prime Minister is calling for more protections of the Jewish community, following a recent spike in attacks right across the UK. Our Redmond Shannon reports from the scene, and a warning: some of the images in his report are graphic.
One of the 2 visibly Jewish men stabbed and seriously injured in a London suburb. Minutes later, officers taser and arrest a suspect who they say has a history of mental illness. Police are treating it as terrorism. Yosef Etegdi helped one victim just after the man was stabbed.
And I'm like, is everything okay? And then he's like, look, I took a shirt off and I saw a huge, like a stab wound right in the upper chest.
This attack took place just meters from where 4 ambulances operated by a Jewish medical charity were set on fire last month. Synagogues and Jewish businesses in London have been targeted in a series of arson attacks since then.
People have been asking, well, where is the next one going to be and when is it going to be? And today we found out the answer.
Fear now mixed with anger over what some in this community say is inaction.
This is an awful attack today. It is completely understandable why Jewish Londoners feel afraid.
There is enhanced funding already in place. We need to increase that to give the level of protection that is needed. We need to take measures to deal with malign state actors.
A group linked with Iran has claimed responsibility for this and other recent attacks, but without providing proof. Police say it's too early to say if there is any link. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
The federal government is allocating up to $145 million for security during the upcoming World Cup.
This funding will support provinces and municipalities in their efforts to ensure people remain safe while enjoying the tournament.
The government is providing an additional $220 million to Toronto and Vancouver, which together are hosting 13 matches. Ottawa expects co-hosting the World Cup will generate more than $2 billion in revenue for Canada's economy. It was the save of the game. Still ahead, how American hockey fans helped sing Canada's tune. At a time of growing tensions between Canadians and our neighbors to the south, there was a touching moment during the NHL playoffs last night in Buffalo.
Our home and native patriot love.
The moment happened just before puck drop at Buffalo's game against Boston last night. During the Canadian national anthem, the singer's mic cut out, but Sabres fans carried on, belting out "O Canada" on their own. Buffalo is unique in that they always sing Canada's national anthem, even if only American teams are playing. Sounding good. Another combined Canadian and U.S. team effort was celebrated today at the White House.
We have some people that have captivated the attention of the whole world, not just our country, the whole world, and they're very brave, and there was a lot of rocket under them. I never saw anything like
President Donald Trump hosted the crew of NASA's Artemis II mission. Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen joined his American counterparts in the Oval Office. They returned nearly 3 weeks ago from their record-breaking mission around the moon. Up next, royal diplomacy. The King and Queen make a somber stop in New York. King Charles helped feed chickens at an urban farm in Harlem, New York, on day 3 of his state visit to the United States. Well, the Queen took in the New York Public Library to support reading and literacy. Camilla also presented a new Roo stuffed toy for its famed Winnie the Pooh collection. The royal couple also attended a 9/11 memorial wreath-laying ceremony where they met with first responders and families of the victims. And today is the 15th wedding anniversary for the Prince and Princess of Wales. William and Kate marked the occasion by sharing this new family photo featuring their 3 children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, plus the family's 2 dogs. A new report is calling for more funding and staffing to support students with autism. A survey by the Ontario Autism Coalition found about 1/3 of students with disabilities are not attending school full-time because they lack the needed support. Our Karen Lieberman has the story of a Toronto family now working to bridge the gap.
I'll admit I was heartbroken at the beginning. I kind of have to put all those visuals of what you think your future is going to look like. Oh, I'm going to get them into this sport and that sport, and kind of toss that out the window and start a whole new mindset.
Jackie Wells' son Elijah is turning 6 this summer. Around 4 years ago, he was diagnosed with autism.
I Googled like famous people that are autistic. Like the smartest people in the world were, supposedly had all these autistic traits and characteristics. So that was the best thing I could do. And I literally turned to Elijah and I said, all right, kid, let's do this.
But it hasn't been easy, and Wells is doing it alone. Elijah's father died in an accident.
He was adventurous, a bit of an adrenaline junkie, loved learning and doing anything. And he went kite surfing. I just found out I was pregnant. I didn't even get to tell Adam.
There are no breaks.
Yeah, here we go.
And life can be messy. Wells approaches each day with a positive outlook and deep breaths.
Your upper body will now twist and open to the left.
She's mastered that as a yoga instructor.
I think my work is my saving grace.
On this day, she's running a fundraiser for an organization providing services for children and youth with autism. On the shelves of the studio, the apparel she designed meant to raise awareness.
Like I always felt I wish I had a sticker on the back of him that said, I'm autistic, I'm having a hard time.
What are your hopes for Elijah?
Oh, that's a tough one. I hope he finds friends that love and appreciate him for who he is. Like every other mom, you would just want your kids to be happy and healthy. Happy's hard when life is hard.
Karen Lieberman, Global News, Toronto.
And that is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Jeff Semple. Tonight's Your Canada is Toronto, where cherry blossom season is now in full bloom. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Have a great night.